K-pop and K-dramas may have paved the way, but today, K-beauty has become a staple in consumers' daily lives around the world. Interest in Korean cosmetics and beauty trends continues to grow, including in European markets such as France. Today, we're joined by an expert who has settled in Korea and spent years introducing K-beauty to the global market. We'll discuss the current state of K-beauty and where it's headed in the future with today's Hallyu People guest, CEO of Agaskin, Fama. Fama, welcome to the show.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right, we're very happy to have you here. How about we start with an introduction of yourself and also what brought you to Korea and also what led you into the K-beauty industry?
So I'm originally from Senegal. I was born in Paris, and I lived in New York for 10 years. So when I moved to New York is where I discovered K-beauty. So after I graduated in Paris, I moved to New York, and that's where I discovered K-beauty for the first time, and I fell in love with the philosophy, the rituals, and fast forward to 2016, so that was back in 2008, 2010. 2016 was my first trip to Korea, and it just solidified my love for the industry, and that's when I was like, okay, there's something that I can do here in this industry to make really, because back then when I talked about K-beauty, people looked at me like I was crazy. And now, I mean, you see like 10 years later, it's just like crazy. And that's why I decided to come here and build a bridge between Korea and the global market.
Looks like you were clearly ahead of the curve.
Yeah, it does indeed. So you've been observing K-beauty for many, many years now, for quite some time. And I understand recently you actually visited London for beauty, like K-beauty, or just beauty-related reasons. How would you, in your own words, assess the current global status of K-beauty?
Yes, so I just came back from London, and we had a K-beauty event with 60 influencers where we introduced like 4 Korean beauty brands. So before, when we talked about K-beauty, it was all about a trend, right? So now K-beauty is really established as, it's not a trend anymore. It's something that's going to be here to stay, and we see it in the global retailers. And I think that as we move forward, we're going to see more and more K-beauty becoming mainstream.
So, speaking of mainstream, I think K-pop and K-drama was more mainstream in the past, but now clearly, as you said, K-beauty has established itself as one of Korea's representative cultural industries. So why do you think is the public or the global public so passionate about K-beauty?
I think K-beauty has shown that it's very efficient. Formulation, it's coming from Korea is always known as made in Korea. Now is a USP, right? It's, when we say made in Korea, we know it's quality. And let's also remember that most of the Korea has manufactured and still manufacture for one of the biggest global beauty brands. So now that they're making their own brands in Korea, of course the quality is going to be great. And I think one of the big part of making K-beauty popular is the rituals. So I think Korea has done such an amazing work with K-beauty in implementing routines. I think none of us had, I mean, us foreigners living outside of Korea, we didn't have routines, right? So Korea has done such a great job at implementing things like double cleansing, wearing a sunscreen. So those are things that were not something that we were doing outside of, in the Western world.
So that would be efficiency, formula, and ritual with an extra stress on ritual,
Exactly.
I guess. Okay.
Yes, and now, like when you grew, you know, you spent some time in France, you grew up there.
Yeah.
So France has been obviously, from outside looking in, has been regarded as one of the world's beauty capitals as well. It's like the romantic capital of the world. Everyone thinks about France. But how would you evaluate the current position and reputation of the Korean beauty industry in the French market? Do you get to go back to France quite often?
Yes, we do. So When we started entering K-Beauty to Paris, we had our first K-Beauty pop-up at Galerie Lafayette. And back then, K-Beauty was seen as, okay, it's just a new industry, something interesting to dive into. But as we move forward, we're seeing that people are more and more interested because K-Beauty is very different from French beauty. French beauty is more traditional, it's very minimalistic, simple. But K-Beauty has this new side to it where it can be minimalistic but also cute, and it can be like very innovative with new ingredients that people never heard of before. So that's why people get drawn to K-beauty nowadays. And of course, I think that Hallyu has a lot to do with it. Like seeing all these celebrities with amazing skin, people want to have this skin, and they understand that they need to have a ritual, including those Korean skincare products.
So then, Fama, do you have any secret personal beauty tips to share? Any routines that you follow?
So the great thing about my job is I work with so many brands, and I get to discover a lot of new products, texture, ingredients, and I think even with the work that we do with the brands and the influencers and creators, people want to have this education on K-beauty, how to use products a certain way. So when we were in London, we were sharing tips about how to use toner pad into a sheet mask as well. So people were so amazed by that. So of course, I think in Korea, it's something totally normal, but over there it was like, oh my God, I never thought about that. So yeah, those are some of the tips that we're providing.
Toner pads.
It does show you have flawless skin, by the
Yeah.
way. So, what do you think is the most important trend shaping the K-beauty industry these days? And how do you see global consumers' interests evolving as the time goes on?
So I think back then it was all about skincare. Then we moved into color cosmetics. Like right now, there's a huge demand into Korean hair care and also fragrances, which is something that we never thought of 5 years ago. But that's where it comes into. And I think also men's care, it's something that's coming into place. And seeing for the brands, like moving forward, what we're gonna have to see more is having brands more inclusive and diverse from the get-go. Because as the brands want to go globally and how K-beauty is getting global right now, we want to see more impactful, I would say, inclusivity and diversity in the marketing, in the collaboration, and in the products.
Men's skincare, you have to highlight that, Walter.
I do. As a male, coming from Australia to Korea, I did change a lot of my routines and looking after my skin because I came from an extremely hot country to another extremely hot country, to be honest with you. But when we talk about skin types, we talk about cultures, we talk about countries, climate, everything affects your skin in a certain way. And so habits, vary from country to country. You've traveled the world, you've seen how different it is. What do you believe K-beauty brands need to focus on most in order to continue growing in the global market?
I think for most of the brand is going to be to focus on one market at a time, because it's going to be really hard to try to cater to everybody at the same time. So really focus on one market at a time and build community, build education on the brand, on the products. And then from there, like I was saying, being inclusive and diverse from the get-go. So really from the production, the manufacturing of the product, really thinking okay, we decide to go to Latin America, we decide to go to Australia, and think of that from the beginning and include that in the production of the products.
Now, Fama, this is an impromptu question, but if you had one K-beauty trend to recommend to us right now, because we're on broadcasting every day, we have the lightings and things like that, so what would you recommend to us?
Trend right now in K-beauty, I would say, why not we're going into the minimalistic routine, skipping steps. So really sticking to building your routine with the basics. So which is to me double cleansing, toning, moisturizing, and your sunscreen. If you stick to that, you'll be good to go.
So the basics are
The
always
basics,
what matters.
always stay to the basics.
Right, and
Yeah.
also I guess because we put on a lot of makeup on every day, it's also very important. The cleansing process is very important as well. Yes, double cleansing. Okay, and finally, how long do you plan to keep your activities here in Korea? And also, could you share with us any of your future plans?
So I'll be here in Korea, to be honest, I want to say indefinitely because my business is linked to K-beauty. And I always say, like, anything related to K-beauty, you need to be in Korea. I don't think it's possible to strive in this business without being here. So I'll be here in and out. We're also gonna do things in Middle East, in Dubai. I just arrived yesterday. So we'll be doing more activities. We're also launching the K-Beauty Festival, which is gonna be a big festival that's gonna happen in different countries with my partner. We're also gonna have the agaskin box, and ultimately for agaskin, what we want to be is the go-to for brands who want to go globally with their K-beauty brands. I'm very passionate about K-beauty. I love it, and I really want to see people enjoy it everywhere in the world. So,
All right, thank you so much, Fama, for
Thank you for
sharing
having me.
your K-beauty journey with us, and we wish you the best in
you.
your future career. Thank you.
thank you
you,
so
Fama.
much. Thank you.
And thank you, Walter, as always. Let's not forget the double cleansing today.
Yes, indeed.
And see you later.
See you next time.